Let's practice binding until we're good at it. I cut cotton strips of fabric 2.5 inches wide for the binding, folded in half, ironed it down the center. It's 1.25 inches. The pot holder is 7 inches on each side. 7 times 4 is 28. I think my strip of fabric was probably 36 inches long, about a yard. Go ahead and close up those edges with a zigzag stitch. Wouldn't hurt to go around it twice. The walking foot is already on my machine, so we're just going to use it for this. One end of the binding is folded under about 1/2 inch and pressed. That is the end of the binding that we will start with. I'm deciding where I want the end of my binding, and my stitches will start about 2 inches from the end of the binding. So I'm lining up the binding with the raw edges of the binding lined up with the raw edges of the pot holder. Once again, my stitches will start about 1.5 to 2 inches from the end of the binding. We need to give room to tuck the other end. You'll see. Always back stitch. We don't want those stitches coming out. I am sewing with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I will sew all the way to the corner, stopping 1/4 inch from the edge. After I trim the thread, watch how I flip the binding back. Makes a little corner right there. Then I'm going to turn around and flip it again. So the fold is lining up with the raw edge that I just sewed down. I'm going to clip it with a fabric clip. We're keeping the fabric clip out of the way of the walking foot. I'm going to start at 1/4 inch from the edge, keeping a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to do the same thing down this side, stopping a 1/4 inch from the end. I'm going to do this around all 4 sides. I'm going to start the last full edge of my pot holder. Don't forget to back stitch as you start and stop each set of stitches. This time it's going to be a little different. I'm folding my corners just as I did with the other three, securing the binding in place. And I'm going to measure how much binding I need to tuck into my starting point. I want to overlap it 3/4 to an inch. The end that I started with is flipped under so the raw edges are hidden. This end of it will have raw edges. I'm not going to flip it, but I'm going to open up the piece that I started with, tuck my raw edges inside, lay it flat, and just stitch over it. Trimming all my thread tails. Now I'm folding my binding around to the back side, keeping it flat to the edge of the pot holder and clipping it. With these measurements, the back side should hang over a little wider than the front. So let's say the front side is 1/4 inch because we sewed at 1/4 inch seam allowance. The back side is just a little wider, so when you go around stitching again, stitching in the ditch, it will catch the fabric on the back. I'm clipping the corners of the pot holders on the outside of the seam that I just stitched. Now I clip through the pot holder and the corner of the binding, but try not to clip the binding. Clip just the pot holder. It will make turning your corners a lot easier, and you will get what looks like mitered corners instead of rounded. a clip on every corner and as many as you need down the sides. And here is the end of my binding. I have to decide how I want to start this stitching, whether I want to start at the end or end at the overlap. I'm looking at my corners because where you fold the binding over, there's going to be a section that overlaps, kind of like gift wrapping paper. And you want the same side to be on top in all four corners. So when you're sewing around, you're going to go in a direction where you sew over the top and then the bottom. That's going to stop it from moving, shifting, or puckering in the corners. Again, I'm going to continue to use my walk-in foot because that's the foot that's already on my machine. You can use a stitch in the ditch foot if you have it, but it's not necessary if you can sew a straight line. I can kind of sew a straight line. This is not a stitch in the ditch foot, but it's very close. It is a blind hem foot, and it has a little piece in the very center that you can line up with your seam. It sews just slightly off, but it works. Just go slow and keep your needle right at the edge of where the binding fabric matches the quilted fabric. And remember to keep your binding tight so your stitches will grab the binding on the back side. Stop your needle directly at the corner. Needle down and pivot. Keep moving your pins or your clips out of the way as you progress around your project. I use a 50-year-old Kenmore machine. That's what I sew with the most. And when I get to the end where I need to pivot, if I can see that my needle doesn't end up right in the corner, that I've got a little more room, but not room for a full stitch, I will roll my hand wheel to raise my needle, and then I will press the reverse button while the needle is in the air, and it always, at least for me, it always drops my needle right where I need. Back stitch and lock those stitches. Clip your threads and inspect your project. Flip it over and make sure your binding is caught all the way around. Well, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least learned something new. Now go make something pretty.